I don't know if you guys realize this or not, but this is a Tuesday. Not only is it a Tuesday, it is on or about 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Get wrecked. Dota On Demand on time. I am BDLM coming with my buddy J4Y, bringing you episode 8 of our podcast. What is going on, buddy, on this very appropriately timed podcast?
I feel like I should have brought the bubbly.
You should have. Nice little bottle of champagne.
This requires celebration to... What a level of celebration. I'm doing great, except for my pelvis or whatever I threw out earlier.
That is fantastic.
Fortunately, that does not affect how I talk. So, that's
It'd be interesting if it did.
That would stink.
Actually, it's funny you should say that, because I'm actually under the weather myself. I have an ear infection, or something much more hilarious. Not going to go into that, but...
Wow.
What
other kind of infection you got? Whoa!
Well, we'll find out, I guess. Anyway.
Pop the bubbly, we'll see. Anyways, exactly. So you're not doing... So how are you? That's always my question back to you, I guess. But you kind of answered it, but go ahead.
Good follow-up question. I'm doing okay. If I sound a little bit nasally, that's my apologies. Doing good, though. So we're going to talk about something very similar to last week. Unfortunately, this week's patch did not hit in time for this cast. Sad face. Ooh. It will, though, be the focus of next week's cast, episode 9, approaching those double digits.
Ooh.
So quickly. Oh,
gotta buy the bubbly for that one. We might even have a guest star.
Oh, yeah. No, nice little surprise for you guys, even though I guess you just ruined it. Thanks. Hate you.
I'm sorry.
Maybe get one of our friends in here and, make it a little bit crazier than normal if this isn't crazy enough.
Of course.
We are going to actually pick up this cast kind of where the last one left off. We're going to focus on talking about the defense tournament that Join Dota has been putting on for the last, 2-3 weeks now, actually. Talking about some more of the kind of nutty, what the nuts oriented things that have been going on. And we're actually pretty much going to pick up with one of the things we were talking about last time, and that is Mr. Darkseer. And he being picked up yet again, actually. Not just the kind of one-trick pony that, I'll be honest, I thought he was going to be, being picked up just to counter out Broodmother, but he was actually picked up in yet another game.
Absolutely. And that game was Na'Vi, as most people who do follow the competitive scene know, because they did win that championship, the first tournament that was worth $1 million. And they were up against J4T, who I believe is a German team. I don't know a whole lot about them. I mean, I've heard of a couple of their players, so I know I've heard they're a talented bunch of fellows. But anyways, so they headed off there. At this point in the tournament, by the way, it's still, I believe, in the group stages, and Na'Vi has already moved on. Like, they've already qualified. They're going to make it to, I guess, the playoffs? What do you call it, the next stage? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think they called it the playoffs, quote-unquote. It's really just another group stage that's just a more condensed version.
Okay.
I believe the top 2 or 3 of each group is going into the next group stage. Top 2?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, because there's just a group A and a group B for the next portion. So, yeah, I actually kind of like this. I was thinking about it earlier. Normally, you get a tournament where it's 2 days, and you just have to watch the games for the next month. But it's kind of been cool that these games have sort of been drawn out. I think it makes it even a little bit more interesting that we have heroes like Darkseer who really aren't kind of a huge part of the metagame yet, but they're still being picked up over this sort of more drawn out time period.
Yeah, absolutely. You're seeing these strategies adapt, and it's really interesting. Especially because people are used to those standard picks every now and then, but more recently, it's been all over the place. I mean, we've seen the most commonly picked carry. One of them has been Dragon Knight this tournament, which of course he is in this game, believe it or not. As well as things like Prophet not getting banned on a regular basis when he used to be auto banned first every game. Just so many. What the nuts, according to I don't know. I'm definitely agreeing with you there, though.
Yeah, I mean, another nutty thing about this game, too, last pick of the game, Crobolus. I mean, you just want to take us through the bans and picks real quick so we can let that little Crobolus thing fester in the brain.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll go down here and start with Na'Vi. Their first 3... Well, let's start with the bans. They banned out Lich and Chen. in the first half, I guess you can say. And then J4T banned Anti-Mage and Night Stalker. So those two bans right away, the Anti-Mage and Night Stalker, make a lot of sense. But you know what? Let me just say all of it, and then we'll discuss all of it. That probably makes more sense. All right.
Yes.
Good job, Jay. You got this. Navi, so they banned Lich Chen, then Slardar and Dazzle. Whoa. J4T, Anti-Mage Night Stalker in the beginning, followed by Vengeful Tide, obviously hating on the supports. As far as picks go, Navi they went with Prophet, Windrunner, Dragon Knight, Shadow Shaman, and Storm Spirit in that order. And then J4T went with Broodmother, Venomancer, Enigma, Darkseer, and Death Prophet. Take it away, bud.
The J4T team is so absurd. I mean, it's a take it, turn around, take it type of team. Like, they're just, they're going to be gunning for the towers. I think it's interesting, too. This game is a really long duration game. And, I've kind of just always thought of these push teams as like, they got to win by 30, 35 minutes or else the enemy carry is just going to take over. And here we see an example where these push teams really do have some viability in the late game. I think really everybody in this game played pretty well. A lot of just smart play all around. It's really interesting. And like you said, we have Dragon Knight picked up again. Kind of, like you said, the carry, we actually see a lot in this tournament that instead of picking up, a Spectre, people are going for these strength heroes to kind of be the tanky carry.
Yeah, it's definitely like flip-flop there, where you're used to these really squishy agility heroes, which still happens, of course, game to game, but sometimes in these lineups, they really prefer that nice tanky carry that, can really synergize almost better with these push strategies. Just simply put, if you're trying to win in the first 30, 40 minutes. Wow, your mic was making a weird noise. I thought it was like Daffy Duck or something.
Oh, my bad.
40? No, it's okay. If you're trying to win, not like wait till like an hour into the game, then these tanker heroes can obviously withstand a lot more in these pushing tier 2, tier 3 towers. Whereas if you're going with like Anti-Mage or anyone that a lot squishier and weaker, they're obviously not going to be as helpful when you're trying to push into a base, because when they get up there, they're going to get CC'd and they're just going to get it killed. It makes a lot more sense. I
think it's interesting, actually. You think the only strength hero that I can think of that got picked up as kind of a carry strength is Slardar, actually, and Na'Vi picked them up at least once in the international tournament. As early as that, he's kind of shown up here and there, I think mostly by Na'Vi. They pick him up from time to time. Yeah, interesting enough, banned. They pick him up with Vengeful a lot, really taking advantage of that minus armor. And, that's a really useful thing when you're thinking about potentially fighting like a DK. But, here we see, maybe because Slardar was banned out, they go for that Dragon Knight.
Well, the interesting about these first picks, so obviously as the picks and bans go, in case you're not familiar with Captain's Mode, each team gets to ban. You start out with 2 bans each, essentially. It goes back and forth, each team. And then after you ban 2 heroes in each team, the first team, in this case it was Na'Vi, they get 1 pick, and it goes 2 picks to the other team, 2 picks back to Na'Vi, 1 to the other team. You do 2 more bans each, and then you do 1 and 1 for the last 2 picks. So essentially, in the first round of picks, for the first 3 heroes in each team, all 3 were strong pushing heroes. Prophet, Windrunner, Dragon Knight. Sorry, I wrote DK, and that's sometimes my mind just goes to Death Knight. Okay. And then J4T got Brood, Veno, and Egg. So what do you think about that? All 6 picks pushing heroes.
Really interesting. We've seen a lot of these tanky, pushy kind of teams, these slow grind teams, I think I've described them as before, where they're just going to kind of sit in the lane and just push it very slowly and methodically and just move through. The nice thing, you think Windrunner, just a good hero, period. She's always going to be popular because she's just good at pushing. She's good at being a solo hero. She's really good at providing support. So, she's just always nice to have around. But, Broodmother, Veno, Enigma, if you see those picks, that, they're going to be coming for you. I think it's actually really interesting. We saw, I believe it was it those 3 heroes? Yeah, in the top lane. trying to push the tier 1 tower. In the bottom lane, though, you had Dragonite and one other hero, I can't remember who it was at the moment, and they are actually able to push the tower faster, so just showing you why that Dragonite pick is so popular, I think, because he has the ability to push those towers early just as well as other quote-unquote push heroes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's pretty much why he is picked up with a lot of these lineups, just because of that ultimate adding damage against towers. And generally, you will not even see him leveled at 11 necessarily, unless, actually in this game, but in a lot of games, professionals, what they'll do is stack those ancients, those mega creeps. Actually, there is a maximum, I found out. It's 4 times.
4. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Somewhere I heard along the line that there wasn't, but there is. So if the supports are really good, they can stack that 4 times. Dragonite gets that AoE ultimate in Dragon form and just clears it with like no trouble once he has his Helm of the Dominator. So he definitely makes a lot of sense on all these kind of pushing lineups.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to talk to you about, actually. We've seen it before with Dragonite. We've seen it with Drow Ranger, too. They get this Helm of the Dominator, they mind control a creep, they go up, and then they pool the Ancient Creeps every minute. And so basically, they have that stacked up nice for them as soon as they're ready to take it, whether that be, if Drow gets some help or when she finally gets some damage items up to be able to kill those quickly, or Dragonite when he gets his tier 2 ultimate. He can clear those 4 stacks in 10 seconds, no problem. And that's about 1,000 gold that you can pick up in a very small window of time. And, I think it's interesting. I'm wondering why teams aren't warding that area by the Ancients and really trying to keep tabs on that. I mean, you think if you had a jungler, you could go Hand of Midas and just walk up there, kill the creep, or if you had an Enchantress, you could mind control the creep away, or a Chen, you could mind control the creep away. I mean, why do you think teams are okay with Drows and Dragonites just setting that up for themselves?
Well, here's the way I see it. Well, first of all, in regards to the Hand of Midas, obviously no one really on J4T would have benefited that well from it. So that wasn't going to get picked up. And I agree, if for example, Prophet did have one, and he would have been really great. He could just teleport it there, boom, Hand of Midas, that thing's gone. But yeah, you definitely do not see that warded or any kind of countering. And I think one of the main reasons, of course, the warding, I think it could be reasonable because you also get some vision of the river, that could be useful. But generally, it's kind of out of the way. First of all, you're crossing the river, so you're putting yourself in danger even trying to get near there. And if you're a support, you can't really take a mega creep down very quickly at all. So by the time you're starting to take it down, you're going to probably find someone from middle or top lane or wherever coming to stop you. So unless, it's a conscious effort or someone that's actually strong at taking these things out, I don't think it's going to happen very often. But I do agree with you that it kind of really does build up these heroes like Dragon Knight, like Drow. And, it might be something to consider. If they did counter that, then you would have to force a support to stack it rather than that creep.
Yeah, I mean, you think in this lineup, Enigma could have done it. Just if you had the ward there, after you maybe get control of middle, or, you notice that hero leaves the lane, you could just run Enigma over there, place a ward, kill the creep, make conversions, and get out. Because the Helm of the Dominator has actually a really long cooldown on it. You can't just be like, oh, my creep's dead, let's just get another one in there. It's actually some time you would have to wait. And
it's 300
you figure
seconds.
300 seconds, so an eternity. I think you think it's 1,000 gold about if you get the 4 stack killed.
Yeah.
So that's half of the Helm of the Dominator cost right there. So you essentially get an item that pays for itself. You normally see those... Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
No, I mean, it's ridiculous for certain heroes. I mean, yeah, we're not gonna push it to the limit here. It is, if someone can micro that and just be on top of the timer and it's time to pull. Not that it's challenging, but still, you have to be conscious of it. Not everyone, of course, is able to do that very well. So yeah, but in the hands of Dendi in this case, okay, no brainer. He's gonna have no trouble with that. But yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. I think it may be something pros should maybe try to even think about and just counter, especially like you said, if there was if they had Nature's Prophet, I mean, you would have seen that thing probably only get 1 stack maximum, because he could have just kept tabs on that and finished it off in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, very true. I mean, here, we started this off talking about Dark Seer, and this is really kind of a different game than we were talking about last time. Before Darkseer, yeah, just up in the lane, able to just, trade punches with Broodmother, pick up a lot of kills with the Iron Shell. In this case, Darkseer solo against two heroes has to basically sit back and put an Iron Shell on his creep wave to try and get kills. Really not able to secure much farm, but still very effective in this game.
Are you calling it Iron Shell?
Ion Shell?
Okay, yeah, Ion Shell.
I did say iron.
Okay, because I was like, that sounds weird, and I just
close enough.
Sure. Very close, one letter. I mean,
R isn't even worth that much in Scrabble. It doesn't matter. You just throw it in there. Yeah.
I don't know what that even makes sense. Anyways, no, I mean, yeah, he still did. He managed to do a good job, and that's the beauty of him is that he has that distance with Ion Shell, and it's such a short cooldown and pretty. Not very mana intensive, I guess, to say the least. So yeah, I mean, he's not gonna get great farm. He's not gonna be like super amazing, but at least he can get something, and that's enough. And and get that little experience too when he's getting in range of that. So yeah, he definitely did enough, I guess, to be something to reckon with in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think Darkseer really only needs one item to be really effective, and that's the Aghanim Scepter, which we see him pick up here and use beautifully. I'm thinking one time when they're pushing the middle lane, he actually puts it a little far back, and you're like, oh, that's really bad placement, because now the enemy heroes aren't going to walk through it. But what his team did was they would just walk through the wall, because he had the scepter, create an image, use it to push the tower. As soon as the image died, they walked back over the wall again, sent the image back to the tower, able to keep up a lot of pressure with that scepter. Of course, you'd like to get Vanguard. Obviously, you'd like to upgrade some boots, but even you think that, he has Surge, so the upgraded boots, not even necessary.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good point. I mean, obviously, the Ghost Marchers would just make no sense. I call them Ghost Marchers. They're not called that, though. They are called Phase Boots.
Phase Boots.
There's a Han thing. Deal with it. Anyways.
There you go.
At least it was like the right item. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, that would obviously make no sense because he has the Surge for speed boost. Boots of Travel. I mean, come on. Just get over yourself. And
Farmfest, man.
I mean, the Treads possibly, or Arcane Boots possibly. Like, if you want to support your team a little bit with Arcane Boots, I could maybe see that. But yeah, definitely not necessary. And I'd rather rush for something like a Soul Ring and then into a Scepter. Who knows? Vanguard, whatever. But in regards to that Aghanim Scepter, you hit on the nail. And especially with this team, they had the Broodmother to make images of, the Enigma. You just had all these powerful people to make the images of. And then when you make that Scepter, that makes the images of your team. But also, yeah, like they could fall back. And if Na'Vi chased them, now there's a Dragon Knight and a Prophet and a Storm, all these people fighting you. And that definitely happened a couple times because they had to initiate on them, and then they found themselves fighting images of themselves. And of course, like that Dragon Knight image was doing tons of damage and was tanky. Even though it took extra damage, it was still surviving. It was like, wow, this is crazy.
I mean, that's one of the really cool things I think about Darkseer's ulti, and that's one of the things that really kind of makes him a viable pickup, even against other teams, is his ultimate scales with how well people in the game are doing. And there are other spells like that, especially think like Necrolite ulti, but it's definitely not like you think Lena's ulti, where it's just a flat amount of damage for a flat amount of mana. I mean, this really has the potential to be either really good or rather lackluster. You pick up the Aghanim Scepter, your team doing well makes that work better. And, we saw Broodmother, she was actually able to do really well, do a fair amount of damage, and they just kept those images up, and if for nothing else, they were good at pushing. And like you said, Dragon Knight, when you get images that do 90% of the people's damage, and even though they take 250% damage, that's still a ton to have to worry about.
Yeah, especially, like I said, how tanky he was in the first place. Even though, he takes extra damage, but the only person that's really going to kill him, Dragon Knight has to still kind of focus him a little bit to kill him because, he still has a ton of health and, all that armor and good stuff. My favorite favorite ultimate of him personally, of that Darkseer, was actually towards the end of the game, where he went in there, he vacuumed them all on. He dropped the wall, vacuumed like 2 or 3 heroes onto it, so made all the images, and then Enigma ulted right there, and his team went there, and there was like 12 images or something ridiculous, like on top of this black hole. I was just so confused, like, what is going on? And I'm sure they were too. And I mean, they just got annihilated because there's all these images of everyone attacking them, and it was just ridiculous. Oh, it was such a great combo.
There are a lot of AoE abilities on that team too. I mean, you think Dragonite, his Dragon form level 2 and 3 does AoE damage to try and take care of those images. Windrunner Power Shot can do some damage against those as well. But, you know, like you're saying, or like we just said, tankier heroes still tanky as an image. And when you don't know who's real and who's not, you know, just being able to confuse the other team is really something that you have to take into effect or into account when you're talking about that ultimate that, you know, you don't necessarily have to with any other heroes.
Yeah, I mean, Vacuum plus Black Hole just makes so much sense. Like, if they could have somehow had, like, a Lich on that team if he didn't get banned, that could have been pretty...
No, I'm not going to let you finish. No, that's something we were talking about last time. We saw a Lich with a Darkseer, but they, for some reason, just couldn't make it work for him. They didn't get good Vacuum Lich ultis off, unfortunately. And yeah, I mean, that's very powerful. There are not a lot of moving abilities, things that will just push people around. Obviously, displacement. You think Force Staff, and then of course, like, you know, Adaptive Strike by Morphling, but Vacuum is just a huge move for over a huge area at the last rank, and that can really set up a lot of ultimates in this game that are, you know, unpopular heroes to begin with. So just reinforcing heroes that are already considered very strong.
I agree, Your Excellency. And then someone that we haven't mentioned yet, that obviously I know you want to talk about, but I do too, is the Death Prophet pickup. I mean, we only barely mentioned it, but I think, honestly, she was the MVP of that game. I mean, she was doing so much work. Basically, you know, getting those early levels, she did a really good job in the lane, got some pretty good farm going. And then that ultimate, she was just push towers so fast. And, like, there was little they could do about it. And then, like, towards the end of the game, she just kept popping that ulti, just picking off Prophet, picking off heroes. Like, those ghosts, if they can focus fire one person, just annihilate them. It's so scary. And, like, oh my god, how many silences could you count on Prophet so he couldn't TP?
Oh, a lot. I mean, AoE silence is just so huge, and, you know, this Crobulus obviously got a bunch of really nice ones off, and just so much added to the team fight potential there. I mean, everything she does is AoE, and it's just a lot of damage, a lot of good utility there. Really all-around nice hero. The one thing that did make me, like, cringe, and it wasn't the Croblus's fault, but just because of the way the ulti is and how slow the ghosts move, I believe she was chasing Prophet, and he was just outrunning the ghosts. They're moving at the same speed, and it's like, this is just sad. Like, come on. And eventually, I think Death Prophet did pick up the kill, but it was like, tapping your fingers, waiting for those ghosts to get there.
That's why it's a travel, dude, so you pass him.
There you go. Exactly. It's one of the things we were talking about when Crobulus came out, really, was how squishy she is. And this Crobulus did a really good job of not dying, which I think is really one of the most important things you can do as a Crobulus. She really, believe, went godlike, actually.
I can't confirm that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, regardless if he did or not, I mean, that's still, even getting close to that is just fantastic. Really just stayed in that lane, was able to do a good job of farming and using the ultimate towards the later part of the game. Interesting to see, I don't believe used it a lot really early on, but was able to use that time early to just farm up and get the kind of tankier items to allow him to survive.
Well, it's interesting, he went Vanguard first, which is definitely, I mean, it's not like it's the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard of, but not very actually common on her. You know, people like to get other items that give her health instead, but I guess she was able to rush it so quickly. And the thing is, I believe that works against Shadow Shaman's wards, too. I believe that counts as an attack.
I don't think it does, actually.
You don't? See, because the only reason I said that is because I believe during the cast, God, what's his co-caster name now?
Synderin
mentioned something about the Shadow Shaman with it. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but either way, It still gives some nice health pool, some decent tankiness, and yeah, definitely allowed her to survive a couple of times where she was barely saving her life, and I think it made a lot of sense. So, yeah, if she can survive, the longer she can survive, obviously, her ult lasts, a good 30 seconds or so? Like, if those
long time.
It's a super long time. And, I mean, if she can get that full duration off, it's going to take out either a tower or a hero, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, there was one time in the middle lane where she popped it, wasn't able to do anything right away with it, but just stayed around and was able to just whittle down some of those buildings. Even if you don't get a kill on a tower or a kill on a hero, it's a significant amount of damage regardless.
You just contradicted me.
Did I?
I literally said you have to get a tower or a hero kill when you use it.
Well,
thanks.
I hate you.
Apparently I'm terrible at talking then. Fine.
Well, the thing with base towers, too, I mean, just being able to open up a lane is huge. We actually saw it in this game. The Dire lost their bottom tower, and after that it was like, well, now you're going to have to really be careful because, if stuff goes down, Prophet can just always go up there and just take the buildings real quick, destroy racks. If you're able to whittle down those towers, that's something to your advantage, of course. And, I really just said that because I hate you, and I wanted to go completely against what you said.
Of course. I mean, if there's no, back and forth, then we're just a couple of... Well, I'm not going to go there.
Wild and crazy guys.
Anyways, this is not Family Guy. So what I want to also mention, because you were talking about the Prophet, yeah, he pushed bottom lane, took out the tower, wasn't able to take out a rack shit, though. But with the smart play of J4T, they pushed that lane first. That was the first lane they decided to take out. And, the reason that's so important is because if they went middle or top, Nature's Prophet could always just push that. He could teleport and push that bottom lane, they'd have to defend it. But since, the other two lanes weren't a big deal and they pushed bottom, now he can't really do anything to stop it. Like, he can't put as much pressure on them. That was just such great thinking in that term.
Yeah, very, very smart decision on their part. I mean, they really did well controlling Prophet, not letting him do a lot to really keep them on their back heel. I mean, that's one of those heroes, him and a lot of invisibility heroes, actually, you think like Riki or Bounty Hunter, you kind of have to play a step back. You can't overextend. You got to be really careful. You got to be map aware. They did a good job of doing that and not really losing any heroes to stupid Prophet ganks,
There's one thing I need to ask you. And you might not be able to answer because it just blows my mind.
That's fantastic.
Why in the world did they last pick Storm Spirit against this team?
Because
I hated that as soon as I saw it.
I don't know. They've picked up Storm Spirit before, I believe. Did eHome get him in the international finals?
eHome.
Yeah, eHome picked him up in the international. Yeah, I don't know. AoE damage, you could say, to be able to help deal with those spiderlings. I mean, they already did have a lot of AoE damage to try and deal with that. A really mobile hero in general. I think probably a lot of it might have been, too, perhaps to go against... Well, no, because Crobolus was last picked. I was going to say, good for rune control. I mean, you could just say that. I don't know. Really, I mean, who would you rather seen?
That's a good question. And the whole time I asked you that, I was like, he's going to ask me who I would have picked. And, as I'm Googling it...
Just told
I mean, honestly, though, and I'm going to look through this list, but in the meantime, I would like to see anyone that's either better at pushing or better... Pugna! Done. Pugna. Not banned, not picked. Much better pick. The reasons being, he can push towers, he can clear creep waves instantly. He has another ward when they're pushing the base, and you saw how many spells they were casting. I mean, that just makes so much sense. And then he's got the I want to call it banish. It's not. It's cripple or decrepify.
Decrepify. There you go. Third time.
I played him, so I'm getting more familiar. But decrepify can be really helpful against that broodmother attack. There's just so many reasons why I would like to see him over her for sure.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, the only reason I could think of not doing that is because you think Vacuum could disrupt the ultimate of the Drain Life, but I mean, that's not really why you pick Pugna.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the other advantage, too, like we were saying with the mobility of Storm Spirit, if Storm Spirit gets vacuumed into a bad situation, you just GTFO. Same thing kind of with, I guess, the Enigma Malphistun can just get to safety. Yeah, I think you're right, though. I think I would have liked Pugna a lot better, although I don't think we've seen Navi pick up Pugna yet.
No, I don't think they're comfortable with him, really.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just kind of depending on, what kind of heroes you like to play, who you like to pick up, but, I think the Nether Ward really would have been pretty huge against this team. Very good, sir. You are now a team captain.
Yes!
Congratulations.
I'm replacing Dendi. He deserves to be replaced.
Oh. It's funny. I meant to say this earlier when we were talking about Vanguard on Crobolus, and we also mentioned Synderen, so that also bookmarked me to the MTW versus the retry game from the Clash, and we saw Zeus pick up 2 Vitality boosters. And people were like, lol, troll. But no, I mean, those int heroes, a big part of their problem is they're just so fragile.
Yeah.
That you can just take him out of the fight really easily. And not so much with Zeus, but you need Crobolus to stay alive. You need the duration on that ulti to go. The cooldown on the Crypt Swarm is pretty low, so you can constantly use that throughout a fight if you survive. And so, that's really, I think, a weird item maybe when you first see it on a Crobolus, but I think it makes a lot of sense.
Well, no, I definitely agree with you there. But speaking of items that don't make sense, which we weren't, but now I'm talking about the opposite, Storm Spirit went towards Bloodstone first. I mean, like, not only did he pick... Yeah, that's the right item.
Yeah, no,
okay. I thought you were questioning my iteming, naming, merging.
It was actually an MKB, but
well,
thanks.
Fine. No, I mean, like, yeah, he went for that Soul Booster to turn into Bloodstone, and, like, in some games you can see that, but against... all this stuff that they had, like the silence and all that jazz, like a BKB, I think would have been just enormous, or even a sheep stick. Like, I don't know. I think that was not a wise choice. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, sheep stick's always fantastic. Yeah. Bloodstone, I really do like. I mean, it's a really nice item. It's really expensive.
You want to explain to the viewers in case they don't know?
No, I don't. It allows you to collect charges so that basically you spend less time dead. If you're killed, you will heal an ally. You build up charges by getting assists, actually, or being nearby.
Kills or assists.
I believe, the enemy team. Kills or assists. Well, there you go. And so it also gives you mana regeneration. A really nice thing to pick up on a Storm Spirit. It kind of makes your ultimate a little less draining if you can pick up some of those kills and assists. So it makes a lot of sense on that hero. But, you also think Sheepstick makes a ton of sense too, especially working with Storm Spirit. More int, more mana regeneration. So those are going to also kind of help fix those issues with your ultimate. And it's also going to give you some utility. I mean, I think maybe the argument could be, well, the only really big damage dealer on that team is Broodmother. So maybe it's not necessarily the sheep that we got to worry about, but I don't know. I think the thing with Storm Spear is you kind of think of him as sort of like an int carry, and so you want to kind of get items that are building towards making him stronger than maybe making the other team weaker.
No, I mean,
and that's I think the only. I think that might be like the kind of logic behind that.
Yeah, I mean, there's logic, of course. Yeah, like you said, that's probably like the only hero I would like to see it on of all the int heroes, just because most of them don't have issues with mana nearly as much as him, because he can drain it the quickest, of course. But yeah, I don't know. I think a Sheepstick at least would have been as tanky as he needs to be, like some kind of CC or some kind of better survivability. But either way, who knows? It's just hearsay. But then also, what threw me off, maybe not a terrible idea, but the Dazzle ban at the end. When they already had Brood, Vino, and Enigma, Navi banned Dazzle. What are your thoughts?
Darkseer and Broodmother can really make the Dazzle heal really effective. The Dazzle ultimate also very good at helping you push. When you consider that Navi doesn't have a lot of damage potential as far as melee is concerned. I mean, Dragon Knight does a good bit, but increasing the armor is really going to make the other team do a lot less damage. Also, you think decreasing the enemy armor is going to make your Broodmother more effective, and that's really the kind of the person you're going to try and peg your late game hopes on for being able to do a significant amount of damage. Shallow Grave is, of course, always amazing. I mean, Dazzle's a really nice hero, and he really does fit in well with push-style teams, even though we don't see him very often in those types of teams. Interesting, though, now that I'm looking at this, Na'Vi banning Slardar and Dazzle, which is like something they've run before.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Perhaps the Germans had some previous experience with those heroes as well.
It's quite possible. Like I said, I don't know too much about this team, unfortunately. But, yeah, now more think about it. I believe the Dazzle heal can heal his Spiderlings, no?
I'd have to imagine
If that's
so. I
the
would
case, that
see
makes a
why
ton of
not.
sense, because, ouch. You could just surround someone with
And,
your
even just
Spiderlings.
for... Yeah, and just keeping your own creeps alive in general. I mean, we saw with that team, they were able to keep pushes up despite the amount of AoE damage that Na'Vi had. So Dazzle really would have helped reinforce that. You figure Dazzle could also heal... well, they didn't know they were facing Darkseer yet, but Dazzle would be able to heal the Darkseer images as well, I believe. So, yeah, he could have been really devastating to Na'Vi. I mean, we spent a long time talking about this game, and there's still a lot of other stuff. Do you have any other closing thoughts on these shenanigans? I would definitely recommend watching it. This was a really fun game to watch, and like I said, I generally always think of these push teams as being kind of fragile in the late game, but this, you really get to see one that has some sustainability throughout the course of the game.
Do you think people want a spoiler?
No.
You don't think so?
I mean, I just told them to watch it. Why would we then spoil it for them?
Because it's more fun. No, I'm just kidding.
It's fun for
Fine.
you.
It is.
Jerk.
I like to ruin people's day. No. Pretty much that. It was just like you said, very good game. Very interesting picks. Hopefully, we'll see more big combinations like this arise. Who knows what we'll see? Maybe in a Lion Lena lane. Who knows? The sky's the limit.
That would be perfect.
It was perfect.
100% win ratio with that combo. Just saying. Pretty sure. Anyway, the next thing we're going to talk about is also a little bit of a piggyback off of our last cast, which we actually saw another Hand of Midas pick up off of a laning hero. But interestingly enough, this hero, Naix, who we've seen several times now. Why?
I don't know why it's pronounced that way, but it is. When you said Naix, that just bothered me. Oh, I got
Isn't
shivers.
it spelled Naix?
It sure is.
So it should be pronounced Naix.
Well, the other thing is, that was the Dota 1 name. You gotta call him Lifestealer now.
Lifestealer. Okay, Lifestealer picked up several times throughout this tournament. Picked up in Shakira versus MSI, Lowland Lions versus U-Boat. Picked up several other times, I believe. Not written down on my little cheat sheet here. But really interesting to see him. We talked about him in a podcast, didn't we? Yeah, he came out with... Yeah. Nice to see him picked up. What do you think?
I mean, he obviously, you're not going to pick him up if you're going with the push strat, just because he needs to sit either in a jungle or a lane. He's just a hard farmer. But I do like him as a carry. Don't get me wrong. The only person that really he's weak against, in my opinion, would be probably like Anti-Mage or something, who's just going to burn through his mana and give him a lot of trouble. But I like seeing him. I like seeing him in the jungle more than the lane personally, because he's pretty effective at it. Not as effective as Nature's Prophet or Enigma, but still pretty quick and can gank so well with his slow. I believe the slow starts out at its maximum amount at level 1.
Yeah, open wounds. It's a significant slow. I think you're right. Yeah. It's really good. I mean, we saw in some of those games where Lifestealer was able to pick up some kills in the lane, just because I think, especially because we haven't seen him a lot, people are kind of slow to really realize what the danger zone is against a Lifestealer, because the danger zone, because you just don't move with that open wounds on. You really have to wait for that to run out. I mean, we even saw kills against a Windrunner with the open wounds, because the slow is so significant. Windrun, just not enough to get her out of harm's way. I think it was actually really interesting to see who else was on the team with Lifestealer. We saw him paired up with a Storm Spirit in one game, a Puck in another game, and a Weaver in yet another game. And it's really interesting, too, because I think when I've seen Lifestealer in pub, the ultimate is really used as kind of an escape mechanism. But when you think about pairing it with heroes like Storm Spirit, Puck, and Weaver, you can really use that as a strong initiation tool. Jump inside your buddy, let him go in, and surprise, it's butt sex.
Wow. And is there any indication that he's in the ally?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either, which just makes it even that much crazier. I didn't even think about that. That's really ingenious. Wow.
Yeah, it really neat stuff you don't really think about. And yeah, like I said, you don't really see Nexus use that ultimate for initiation, even if it's just to hide in a creep wave. Wait for the creeps to push out, maybe catch somebody not paying attention. They think they're just farming the lane. You're sitting there just waiting to open up a can on them, you know?
A can of, ramen noodles. They don't even come in cans.
Mountain Dew.
That doesn't make a lot of sense.
How did you not go to Mountain Dew off a can? I kind of
have
figured.
no idea. I just stick to 2-liter bottles now.
Oh, there you go.
I'm a Dewey.
So, I mean, what other heroes do you think would be really good with Lifestealer, kind of to give him that mobility that you would find in the competitive scene?
I wonder if it's... I doubt it, but what if you could go into Spectre and he ulted somewhere?
Dude, I wonder if you could ult into Nature's Prophet and TP behind somebody.
No, that definitely should work. I think that should definitely work.
That is crazy.
Just because he doesn't... He's still him, like in the flesh, whereas Spectre kind of changes over.
Yeah.
So that might be tricky. But either way, oh my gosh, these are things people need to try, because that just sounds nutty. Oh, that's
I know.
sweet.
One of our friends plays Lifestealer quite a bit, and we are going to yell at him nonstop the next time we're in a Dota 2 game with him. We're like, dude, do it. We'll see if it works. We're just going to try all this nutty stuff. I think it's actually coolest with Weaver, because you're just like Shaboopy behind somebody invisible, and then all of a sudden it's Weaver and Lifestealer, and you're dead. That would just be... Yeah. That would actually probably be a really strong combo. I mean, I think we saw it with Storm Spirit, where he hopped inside Storm Spirit, went along for a ride. I don't think we actually saw it come to be with the Puck and the Weaver, but that potential is always still there. And yeah, we think about the super carries, or the big three, as we always like to call them. One of the things that makes them so strong is their mobility, and this really helps give him an initiation tool. Like, I know in pubs people are like, oh, just get a blink dagger on him, then you can blink in and open wounds. Like, or you can just be with a Storm Spirit and they're a free blink dagger.
Fair enough. No, I do actually like blink dagger on him. It's pretty silly, but definitely not early blink dagger, of course.
No, but
definitely not the road. Blink dagger bounty hunter. That's
there you go.
I've seen it.
Blink dagger Omni Knight. We've done that one.
I did that by accident, on purpose, and it was the best idea I've ever had.
You did it in Han, and it's even better in Dota when you think about it, because Jeremiah doesn't have degen aura. So you do it on Omni Knight, and they have to sit next to you because they're moving real slow. Just saying, new meta.
If only. I don't know. What other fun heroes can we get Blink Dagger on? Sniper, of course. Dude, what? I want to see a game with Sniper. He hasn't been played in a while, and I think he has potential.
He would actually kind of, I think, be an interesting backbone to a push team, giving them some late game potential. You think he can outrange towers as it is when he gets the range up, and now his Q ability, the shrapnel, does damage to towers, and he's also kind of an auto attack hard carry. Doesn't have the kind of mobility that we like to see, or the tank ability that we like to see in this kind of heroes, but because of his range, he can really put a lot of hurting on people from a relatively safe distance.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much have to get the Shadow Blade on him, or else you're gonna not live.
Yeah, I mean, Shadow Blade Daedalus, kind of the way you would think you could also build a Kunkka in kind of competitive settings.
That is my favorite way to play Kunkka, who never gets picked either, of course, and for good reason. He really can't keep up with the other strength heroes currently, unfortunately. But yeah, where am I going with this?
I don't know.
Were we
talking
about something originally?
Lifestealer and his ultimate. We were ulting
yes.
with Lifestealer.
Yeah, Lifestealer. I think honestly, yeah, he does fit well in some lineups, and to maybe even like counter certain other ones. But obviously, like I said, he's not going to fit in like a pushing or semi-pushing team just because he has to farm all day. And he doesn't have great initiation unless you do the crazy Storm Spirit thing we were talking about or something. But so while I do like him, he obviously does have some limitations that might keep him picked as often.
I think right now why we're seeing him so much is because of this like Dragonite that we've seen so much. Nyx does more damage depending upon how much health you have, and he's going to lifesteal for more depending on how much health you have. So he's really kind of a good strength hero countering strength hero. And he can one-on-one just about anybody. The only people that are really going to be able to survive him are going to be the people that can get away and kind of kite him.
Yeah.
And that's why, you think like, Anti-Mage, Faceless would probably have a pretty good time with him.
Weaver.
Weaver, yeah, just because you can kite him about. As long as you have that mobility, you're set. And I think that's one of the reasons he's showing up so much is because people aren't picking people like Anti-Mage as much. Faceless does come up, but if you're not seeing these high mobility heroes, you're going to be a lot more effective.
Well, Anti-Mage is definitely picked or banned every game. I don't
Yes,
I don't think I've
he's
seen
been banned a
one
lot.
game he's been not picked or banned.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been seeing him banned, I think, more often than picked.
Yeah, like I said, it used to be the nice. We talked about this last time. It used to be the Anti-Mage, Night Stalker, Prophet, and insert fourth here that were auto banned every game, and now Prophet's like picked every game, and it seems like people just don't care as much about him anymore.
Yeah, he's comfortably strong, kind of what we were talking about last time with Crystal Maiden, who in some of these other games actually did get banned. Strong enough to be very viable and be very influential in the game, but not so strong that you want to ban him. But yeah, look at this game. The first ban by each team, Anti-Mage, Lich.
Yeah.
In the Navi versus J4T game that I still have up in my background. So yeah, interesting enough. I don't think I have talking points beyond that.
Yes, you do.
Do I?
You have one. Everybody gets one. No,
Enlighten me.
It's Viper.
That's why I have you here. Because I've just been like, I've just been like, all right, peace. It's interesting. We see kind of an interesting return of Viper. We saw one game. I believe Lowland Lions picked him up and had a really hard time getting anything to happen with this Viper. And then we saw another game where he actually was able to do quite well. I don't have it written down what that game was. Go looking.
You're very prepared.
Find it. Well, I'm sorry. I was really hoping for the patch to hit, I'll be honest. Like I said last time, it's like, yeah, don't worry. It's either going to be about the patch or something I make up like 10 minutes ahead of time. And while it wasn't 10 minutes, you think all the time you have to spend watching all these games to try and find good ones to talk about.
I know, suffering through that. Ugh.
Yeah, well, I enjoy watching them, but then they just all start to run together at one point, and it's just like a whole thing. Anyway, Viper, he was actually picked up by Navi while we were talking about them. In the International, Dendi played him mid a couple times. Kind of a hero that's fallen off lately, but we actually see him coming back here again.
Yeah, and I mean, for many good reasons, and you could probably contest this. Like when you played a pub game against a Viper who has a nice fast start, he's pretty much impossible to take down, and you want to throw your mouse like that kind of level of frustration. Maybe that's just me. I get that way, or our roommate did. Anyways, not to go too personal, but I mean he's got great lane presence, I think, just because of all his moves, really. Nether Toxin. Go ahead and list those off for me, because I'm really bad at names.
Are you serious?
Why would I have
Corrosive
them?
Skin. Oh, here we go. Here's why I'm so good.
This is why I have you here.
The ultimate, Viper Strike. E is Corrosive Skin.
Yes.
W is Nether Toxin.
Boom.
Q.
Poison.
Is it Poison Strike?
No.
Oh, sorry, 3 out of 4.
That's his orb, which is a poisonish move, if you will. It has poison involved in it.
To quote Toby, who was the caster for Join Dota, he was casting all these games. He's good at making enemy heroes moonwalk, because he slows them so much they're practically moving backwards.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's Toby, not me, man. I'm
That
just
was a pretty genius statement.
probably
You should have taken credit for it.
I should have. You know what? Toby doesn't exist. He doesn't. Not a person. We actually cast all the Joy No games because we're awesome like that. No, yeah, can really just keep people in place and beat on them. And he, like Naix, is good at fighting heroes like Dragon Knight because the lower your health gets, the more damage he's going to do. And so he's really good at dealing extra damage to those people that are going to have, a high amount of health.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like the reason I think he's so powerful, at least like in a solo mid situation, 1-on-1, is because he gets levels really quickly. And when you get that ultimate, and if you're leveling your Q, your orb effect, which I don't know, you can debate either way, like either maxing that or Nether Toxin first, because both obviously add damage and do their own thing. I think I personally prefer the orb, just so you really get that slow going and add that extra damage. But either way, when you hit 6, you're generally going to be stronger than the other middle in a 1-on-1. Not always, but wow, that sounded like demanding. Anyways, I don't know what you're like. Are you going somewhere with that, Punk? Anyways. Yeah. Oh God, I lost my train of thought. Yeah. So I really like him in that like solo situation, and if he can get farmed so easily with his like Nether Toxin and whatnot, because they're, he gets all that bonus damage, and he's just a strong hero, and he's so tanky. That's the other beautiful part of him. Compared to most ranged carries, they obviously are very squishy, and the way they survive is because they have all this like a leap or some kind of escape. Hopefully, poor Drow, she just gets shat on, but that corrosive skin just really slows down the attacker, really toughens him up, and it's just really impressive. And I think it's just so why I guess I like seeing him so often.
Yeah, he's kind of similar to Spectre, where it's like he just has to survive and he does his damage kind of naturally. I mean, the corrosive skin really helps him against other carries, so he can just sit around and really do damage basically with the Nether Toxin in Viper's case. Yeah. Obviously, Spectre does it a little bit differently, but just being able to survive is really enough. And so, really, a tanky hero kind of fitting in with the current way that people want to play with those really durable heroes. But an agility hero, one that can really stay in there and deal a ton of damage. I think it's actually crazy that people can even play Viper well. I mean, his basic attack does a really small amount of damage. It seems like really early on. High five to anybody who gets really good creep scores on him, because I know I can't do it.
And this is why you're not professional.
That's also why I never play agility heroes. Another really good reason,
no, you
actually.
Have. We just lose.
And we don't talk about those times. We pretend they never happen.
But yeah, like you said, I think he will. I agree. I think he'll fit into these lineups a lot easier, and I think we will be seeing more of him, especially against heroes that he can kite around, such as a Ricky, who should be auto banned apparently every game.
Yes, he did get banned in one game. That was one thing I wanted to mention. I mean, I guess if the other team has a history of playing with him, all right. I mean, the Silence the Cloud is very effective, but
professional teams. The reason why he's not very good is just because like in a pub game he'll stop because no one buys dust or wards. And it's like, oh, where is he? Oh, I'm dead. And like that's just what happens throughout 30 minutes of the game. And then he's too farmed and you lose. But in a pro game, they buy sentry wards, they buy dust, they buy all sorts of gizmos and trinkets, and gizmo gadgets and trinket gizmos. And the point is, they're able to detect him and they can keep him down suppressed. And that's what's really important against him. So yeah, I mean, I think he does scale well with that agility as his backstab thing, but he should be pretty easy to control.
Yeah, he's not too bad to deal with if you're playing intelligently, buying those dust and those sentry wards. Very, very importante, as they say. According to this site, and this is Dota 1, it's called Poison Attack on Viper.
You said Poison Strike, bud.
It is close enough. Okay, I got 3 out of 4 right. What did you do?
I said it's Poison-ish. So.
Poison-ish. I got half right. So that's what's half of 25%? 12.5%. Yeah. It's definitely passing, okay? Mr. Professor. Supposed to know all this stuff.
Yeah.
Just a scientist. Anyway, I think that about
That
wraps
should
it
wrap
up
it up.
on this crazy little podcast, episode 8 of our little shenanigans we like to do every
Don't
week.
finish yet. Let me say something.
That's
and then
what
you can
she
finish.
said?
You can finish all over this cast's back. So, as you've seen, as of course you're watching this whole thing for the hour straight because it's a beautiful picture that BDLM made. In the background, so far we don't have webcams. We're working on it. Don't worry. Have patience. Didn't get it for Christmas. We'll get it. But we do have this like us on Facebook. I really want to get you guys over there because, like we said before, we're going to be making these updated posts, on a pretty regular basis, letting you know when we're doing our cast, what they're about, giving you information about Dota 2 as things come up, like patch notes, hero things, this and that. And then eventually we're still working on getting the site. It's coming, I promise. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Oh, and then the IRC chat. You know what? We'll save that till next time because that's just not worth mentioning yet.
We've done it once,
Yeah.
making it on time on a Tuesday, almost on time on a Tuesday.
So
On a
close.
Tuesday, that's close enough for me. So maybe next time y'all could hop in, say a little hi, how are you? Ask awesome questions, and we can tie
Leave
that
the
into our
dumb
cast, which would be
questions, and we'll
fantastic.
consider answering them just because we're nice guys.
J4, why are you so stupid? Why are you so ugly? That's
Wow.
probably
That
where we
was
get
pretty
those.
hurtful.
Well, I don't like you, so
Great.
that's why. Anyway, yes, please join us next time. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on the YouTube and on own.tv. Of course, you can find all of our links and stuff at the bottom of all of those things, actually. They all have links to each other. So it's a fantastic little system we got going. Join us next time for episode 9 about, hopefully, the next patch, if there is one. We don't know.
Otherwise, we make up more stuff.
Yes, or else I just keep going off the top of my head. What do you think about Enchantress for an hour straight?
Oh,
So,
God, help us all. Okay.
good luck. Anyway, talk to you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.